No.
I didn't hear from TJ stands for Teddy John, but nobody calls me that. I'm TJ. I'm glad to see so many people out tonight. My background, my father was born in Kansas, I was born in California. I'm a military brat. I attended, four public elementary schools, 2 public middle schools, and 2 public high schools. I've seen good schools and bad schools. I think we've got a pretty good one, but how much better. I am retired from the United States Army after 29 years. My wife and I moved here back here in 2007. We moved here originally in 1991. I'm a nurse. I was a nurse in civilian life and a nurse in the military, EMT, a paramedic. I was a first sergeant and a trainer and educator myself in the military. I've always had a passion for young people. And I'd really like to have the opportunity to make a difference in our community in this capacity. I've worked in the past and still work with organizations like Habitat. I'm currently serving on the Shawnee County Parks and Recreation Board. I have a deep and long-lasting commitment to serving other people. Thank you.
Even as a young child, growing up in East Topeka, even though my family struggled, I was very keenly aware that there were other students who struggled even more. And it's that recognition that seeded in me a deep sense of gratitude for what I had and a desire to do what I could to help those who were going through difficult times around me. My name is Lalo Munoz, and I'm running for school board in District Number 1. And I believe everybody deserves a chance to have a successful life, and education is an important part of that. And it's that belief of the success and potential in anybody that's driven me to be able to work in professionally in nonprofits where I work with vulnerable communities, as well as in the community. Recently, I served as chair of Washington Check East, a $5 million investment in East Topeka that's opening up educational opportunities as well as life-altering opportunities for individuals in our community. I'm running for school board because I'm the father of 3 small children who go to school in Scott, a dual language. I want to do what's best for them, but as well as for all children. And I think parents offer an important perspective for the board, being individuals who are in our schools, who have the front line perspective of how policies and procedures work and sometimes don't work.
30 seconds.
I'm also running because I want to make sure we have strong schools and we do our best to support teachers in terms of pay. And lastly, I'm running because I want to reduce the education gap for students who are struggling. Our success as a community is tied together with the success of all students, and I want to do what I can in my part to make Topeka a great place to live and work.
Good evening. I'm Sue Boley, and I'm running for position 2 in Topeka, Kansas. I am a long-time Topekan, and my family is too. My great-grandparents lived here in Topeka. My grandparents, my parents, and of course myself, we've all lived in Topeka all this time. My grandfather is Thomas W. Williamson, who is the architect and designer of Topeka High. I have an uncle, Dennis Payne, who served 2 terms on the school board. And I myself retired from Topeka Public Schools. I taught in Topeka for 21 years. And I believe that it's just so important that to be on a board, that somebody within the organization is on the board. I know exactly what happens in our school buildings. I started as a classroom teacher. I was recruited to a liaison, district liaison in the district, and then I was an instructional coach. Many of the teachers that are standing in the classrooms right now were trained by me. I was a trainer in the district. I understand curriculum. I helped create assessment. We dealt a large amount of time with data, and I just really believe that We need to figure out a way in our district how we get a fair and equitable education for all of our children. It doesn't matter if it's east or west, that we need to do something to make our education fair across the board. We also need to find a way, and I think this building is one of those, to keep our students here in Topeka. Once they graduate, we need those young people to help our economy. I hope you'll vote for me, Sue Boley.
My name is, maybe not. Oh, never mind.
Here.
I'll go with that one. There you go. Thank you. My name is Tracy Routzon, and 1,200 hours. So I want you to remember that number. So I'm a current TPS parent. I have 2 children, one who graduated in 2017, and my son currently attends Topeka High School. I serve the district as an active volunteer. I've donated over 1,200 hours to the USD 501 district in classrooms, part-time, full-time, half-days. In elementary, I got to read with kids, worked on math, science, art. I got to help create the yearbook, planned book fairs, field trips. I choreographed the elementary school and middle school musicals. Now, as a drumline traveling parent, I have my to-go bag of socks, shoelaces, Band-Aids. I get to walk and distribute water with them. I help with the Scholars Bowl, debate and forensics tournaments, chairing the committee for the band scholarships, co-chairing Spiritwear for 6 years, concessions. I served on district committees, so search committees, the gifted education committee, building committees, and then leadership roles. So I've served as secretary, vice president, and president of PTOs, sometimes 2 at once, and of the District Citizens Advisory Council. So currently, I'm the vice president at Topeka High. I'm also the vice president for the DCAC. So about me, I'm a professor at Washburn University. I earned my PhD in interpersonal communication and a master's degree in organizational communication.
30 seconds.
The past several years at Washburn, I've been working with CTEL, which is the Center for Teaching and Excellence in Learning. I do professional development there, where I helped revise the teaching observation program, and I served as a new faculty mentor. I'm one of 6 faculty at Washburn that earned a CTEL certificate for the past 5 years for teaching, and one of 14 who earned this new certificate of inclusive teaching. So I enjoy the privilege of serving as a faculty liaison for concurrent enrollment program in the high schools, and I want to be here for a student-centered focus for student success. Thank you.
All right, 2-minute version. My name is Dean Zeitz, and first a little bit about me. I am a lifelong Kansan, and I've been in Topeka for almost 20 years, over 20 years now. But growing up, I grew up in a town where it was a small town, and I was one of those kiddos that struggled to read in kindergarten on kind of through elementary, and had a family that loved me very much, but parents that kind of struggled to keep the power connected and the telephone connected. But let's talk about where am I today? Today I've been with the Kansas State Department of Education for the past 7 years. I am the president-elect of the National Association of Elementary and Secondary Education Act State Program Administrators. I serve on the National Board of the Association of Educational Federal Finance Administrators. I'm an expert reviewer for the Center for IDA Fiscal Reporting. I am on the Kansas Council for Developmental Disabilities. I was awarded the Kansas Kids First Award by the Kansas Association of Special Education Administrators, and I serve on the locally on the TEC Early Learning Center's Board of Directors. I say all that because not because I like to say what I've done, because I really don't want to talk about that. I say that because I care very, very much about what it means when a system reaches out and helps a kid who needs some help. And I'm here today because I have 3 young girls who are in the Topeka Public School System. They have fantastic opportunities, but I want to make sure that every other kid in our district has the same opportunities because they deserve it. And when we reach out and when we help them, they can all be successful. Thank you.
I am honored to be here tonight. Thank you for being here and for paying attention to the importance and the integrity of school board. I'm Mr. Campbell, and I'm a native of Topeka, and I'm also a teacher with over 25 years experience, including being a former teacher at Ross Elementary. My husband Matt, he's a teacher also in the district in the gifted education program, and our two children, Stuart is a 7th grader at Landon, and Paloma is a 5th grader at Scott Dual Language Magnet. And we've been very pleased with the districts, with our children's education district. I'm running for school board because I deeply care about the duty of public schools to develop educated leaders of tomorrow. It's a duty. And I'm also running for school board because I really care about public schools being the equalizing force for populations that have traditionally been marginalized. And I care about equity for all students, for teachers, and across school buildings. As an educator myself, I get it. Like, I know the wonderful, and there's a lot of wonderful. And I also know the challenges in our schools and in our public education system. In my current position, I work for the state migrant education program. I'm in lots of schools, and so I can tell you that I am really up to speed with 21st century educational developments in progress. I'm a staunch advocate for our district's dual language program, and I want to ensure that it continues to prosper, cultivating bilingual and biliterate graduates who are better prepared for our global economy. And finally, I want to just ensure that our district continues to recruit and retain culturally, linguistically, and racially diverse educators. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Brent Hall, and I'm running for 501 School Board at Large. I'm the president of the union out of Frito-Lay, BCTGM 218. I've been promoting equality and equity on the shop floor for 14 years now. One thing I've learned is that the job of ensuring success of these principles always comes with a cycle. Every new one, your job never ends. You have a new class come in, you're teaching the same stuff. But we need to get things, going to the future. I've also volunteered through my union. I started a volunteer group with my union, and I volunteered with the Special Olympics, which I had to take a hiatus for this campaign, but I'll probably return to that after I'm done here. I feel a responsibility to help others overcome obstacles, and I want to take that to the schools. I want to focus on early childhood development. I have a daughter who's going to enter state school in Oakland, and deal with some social and emotional issues that we're seeing in the classes. That's very important. We need to teach them honesty, openness, and willingness to have effective learning. And then third, we're sitting in the Harvard for the pathway to a career. This is a wonderful.
That is time.
This is a wonderful facility. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Keith Tatum, and I am running for the at-large position of the USD 501 School Board. And I'm running because I truly believe in the power of public education, and I know all of you do as well. The power of public education is effective because I have seen it do its work in the lives of children around me, including my own, and I can speak to you and tell you that the power of public education has been realized in my life because I'm a product of Topeka 501 schools. And now that I have reached the point of development in my life, I have a passion for bringing up and empowering others around me, and my priority is to reach back and to do the same for other people, young children who are coming up in the system just like I was. I'm a graduate of Topeka High School. I graduated in 1989. I'm also a graduate of Washington University with a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I have a master's degree in public administration from the University of Kansas. I currently am the Director of Training and Staff Development over at the Kansas Neurological Institute. I'm also an adjunct professor in the Human Services Department at Washington University. So I come and bring these experiences to the board because I want to do for the board what I do in my everyday life, which is take someone from the point of entry and give them skills and tools and capabilities and training to help them come out the other side as a better, more productive contributor to our organization. I want to do the same thing with our school district too, help to take a child from kindergarten, help to give that individual tools and skills that they need and move them through successfully to graduation. Thank you.
I'm a retired physician. 2 years ago, I delivered about 10,000 babies in my career. I have been in Topeka for 38 years. I grew up in Manhattan and catered off to medical school in Chicago and residency in Snowden, which we're supposed to get later tonight. I believe that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And that is a paraphrase of Dr. Martin Luther King. And if there's one thing we can do is to help our greatest natural resource, and that is our children. Too many are not achieving their God-given potential, and I wish them to achieve what they can. I had 4 children who graduated from Topeka High. I experienced through them the public schools and some private schools in Topeka. I just wish that all children, 2 of my children were not offered options in public schools, so we had to go private, but I think all children should have those resources, and they should be available in the public schools. Education is the basis of democracy, and we need all the best educated people, our natural resource, to achieve their potential.
Thank you, everyone, for your introduction. So we're going to start by kind of having you answer some questions that were submitted by some of our DCAC members, and then as hopefully we'll be able to get to a point where we can have some questions from the audience. So I'm just going to start right here. You guys are going to, I'm going to go down the line for this first question, and again, you guys will have about 30 seconds to kind of give your best answer possible.
Lisa, over your 5-second warning.
Okay, and again, you'll have a 5-second warning. So the question is, what is your vision for education in this community? For instance, is there a certain area that you feel needs change, or what do you feel is the biggest strategic challenge? We'll go ahead and start right here.
I don't want to presuppose on any specific topic or subject. My goal as I serve on the school board is to come in, get a good feel for what needs to be done, what the goals and objectives currently are, what I see that may be differently, put my efforts there, and try to assist in accomplishing that. The one thing I would say is, obviously, I'd like to see the graduation rate go up, but I do not think graduation rate is the true determinant of how well our students are doing, and how they succeed afterwards.
What I'd like to see is for everybody to believe that educating, being part of the educational system for our kids, guiding them to be successful, is everybody's responsibility. So it's administration, it's the school board, it's teachers, it's parents, community members, and businesses. We all have a stake in how well, in them doing well. And so I'd like to see everybody believe it's all of our responsibility to make them successful.
I have several concerns, but the one I'm going to go with right now is the behaviors and mental health in our classrooms and in our school buildings. Our teachers are being challenged. Our students who want an education are being challenged. And I believe that we need to do something about finding ways to bring some type of mental health help to our school buildings.
I think first and foremost, as a school board member, my goal, or what I need to be doing, is listening to the parents, listening to the teachers, listening to those around us in the community. And I think that, one of the challenges we have is opportunities for all, whether that be enrichment, so not just an extra worksheet, but actually going through and helping individualize curriculum for students so we can really focus on student-centered student success.
I agree with the push for making it everybody's responsibility. There needs to be a recognition that our schools need to partner both with businesses and educational opportunities to help our really excelling students excel, as well as partnering with mental health and other social service nets to really provide outside services for our kiddos, wraparound services, because being an educator should not be an act of self-immolation where you're putting everything in without some support. Thank you.
Okay, so I would say, there's a lot, but I would say equity across school buildings, because I see some schools that are just doing a lot better than other schools, and it's just an equity issue, and a lot of it is parent involvement and so many other variables, and I'd like to seek solutions to that, so those kids can have the same opportunities as some other kids in other districts have.
Yeah, I would like to see equality and equity with our students. I would also like to see that we make sure our kids actually get the lessons that are being taught, and that we don't let them slip through the cracks and push them on to the next grade, because that will get you a better graduation rate, but 5 years after graduation, what are kids doing?
I believe that the single greatest existential threat to our school district is school funding, maintaining school funding. A lot of us know that the Supreme Court made a decision that all funding levels across the state were level, but what a lot of people don't understand is the legislature is not bound to abide by that. So we need to work with our lawmakers. We need to advocate and support our teachers and children so that they understand that we need all the resources available in the classroom where they belong.
I'm a little bit different. I believe in inquiry first before advocacy. Want to know more about the problem, dig deeper into it. I've solved many in my medical career and had national publications regarding deliveries in X-ray therapy where it was required. So I think study needs to be done. There's many problems.
That's fine. Thank you. Before we move to the next question, is there anybody who would like to submit a question to Sean? Okay. For our next question, we'll go ahead and move to you, Sue. Okay, and then we'll work our way down that way.
Move to me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll start with you. So the second question is, if elected, how will you make yourself and the board accessible to the community?
I'm a retired teacher, so I do have the opportunity to spend time in our buildings, answering phone calls, taking in the activities that are at school. So I believe I have the time and I do have the desire to take in what teachers are asking about, what parents are asking about, and even what students are asking about. Just
I think that a lot of what people want is the opportunity to hear from the board and have us listen to you. And so going to the schools and making sure that we are not unknown faces and that we make sure that we are in each of those buildings and not just walking through on an occasion, but making sure that people know who we are and that we open ourselves up to those questions and to those phone calls, and so that you have the opportunity to get to know us.
I think that it gets back to being in the schools, finding the time to be there, to make the kind of meetings. I do, as I mentioned, have 3 young girls in schools right now, in 2 different schools. My wife actually just helped farm the PTO there in our early childhood center, but it's making sure that I'm available to all families and creating meaningful and accessible opportunities for all families to engage with the district on their time and their terms.
Yes, I too would just make myself available. By phone, text, email. I remember 12 years ago when I was a new mother, I sent an email to a board member who's in this room, Patrick Woods, and he responded right away. And I remember just feeling that connection. Like I said, knowing that my son would go to Topeka Public Schools. So that's just being available and listening. Going, visiting schools, talking to teachers, and time relationships.
I would make myself available, to the teachers, to the parents. I'm currently a community steward, president at Frito-Lay, and everybody out there gets my phone number. Because I'm there to help them improve their lives, improve their working conditions. I want to do the same for the students. I want to make myself available at any moment, at any time, just give me a call.
The crux of accessibility is really transparency and access, and to really make yourself available and develop relationships with people who are moving about their everyday lives in the community, whether it's in the schools or other places where people gather. That's where you learn about issues and you begin to understand what people are experiencing and build trust with the individuals that you meet, and then they come to you when they have issues that they want your help with.
Well, text, phone number, email, willing to visit. People have questions, more than happy to talk with them. Let's go on to another question.
SchoolBoard. Yes. I plan on having a regular presence at every school in my part of the district and in other schools throughout the district. People will see my face, they will probably get sick of it. If you have a question, I want to know about it. If you have a concern, I want to know about it. If there's something I can help with in any way, I want to know about it. And I plan on going to the schools on a regular basis, and obviously phone, text, and email. Thank you.
A couple of things. One, I think in this new day and age, we have younger parents, so we have to be where they are. So social media plays an important part, technology. 2, I'm intrigued by our Kansas Supreme Court that actually does work out in different places across the state. And I think to myself, what would it communicate if we went to where parents were and where they live in their communities? Last, I think listening to listen and not to respond. I think it says a lot about why we're here.
Thank you. Okay, so for our third question, we will move on down to, we'll start with the at-large candidates, and actually, yeah. Yes. Okay, so the question is, and it's a little lengthy, but plans to keep students safe while in school and on school grounds for events from gun violence? In particular, your stance on active shooter drills or fear of gun violence in schools and the anxiety it puts on our students.
That's a good question. With our, the way things are going now in society, it's definitely getting scary out there. I have went, I'm not a member, but I went into some Moms Demand Action meetings, and the stuff that they do and movements. So.
You know, the Flagler School District already has a very good, very viable plan for school safety in place. We need to keep it going. It's doing the work that it was intended to do, and keeping in mind the environment of the learning classroom inside the school building each day, and not putting the kind of militaristic feel that which kind of turned things into a fortress in a school building. That's a tough line. We need to keep going in the direction that we're in.
I agree wholeheartedly. We cannot turn our schools into prisons with concertina wire and stone fences, and there's all sorts of people that sell you things to make your school safer, but I really think we need to advocate for our government to start doing something about the availability of guns. I don't believe in taking away, but taking more responsibility. Maybe they have to have insurance for guns if somebody takes it.
Okay. Yeah, I think the current plan, the way I understand it, is fairly comprehensive. I'm sure there's always room for improvement, and situations change. We need to be adaptable always in anything regarding student safety. It's not only gun violence, but we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can for suicide prevention, bullying, and a whole host of issues. I think the biggest thing is to listen to the students, listen to the parents, listen to the teachers. They may have recommendations that need to be implemented in that as well. We need to keep our kids safe.
I think we can't ignore what's going on in the schools and the students. We need to be very wary of addressing needs and figuring out how do we make progress on the pressures that kids feel. I think as a board member, we need to continue to review the procedures and processes we have in place for safety and communicate that effectively to the public.
It comes this way. Thank you. I want to praise the school board for what they have done at our buildings. We have bulletproof glass, we have key card entrances, we have a plan in our buildings of what to do if we have an active shooter outside or inside our buildings. And you know, that was not in their strategic 5-year plan, but this board stepped up and did that. And so we need to follow through with that. The part I find is what we have to do to teach our children about this.
I actually really agree with Sue there. We have to praise the board what they did. I actually really think our number one concern needs to be the mental health crises that we have in our schools. If we want to prevent shootings, we need to go and figure out why they're happening in the first place. Speaking as a parent that had an accidental drill happen at Topeka High, we got to watch the ramifications of that day as the students came back and reporting of being terrified. And I want to figure out a way that we can make that never actually happen.
I would concur with everything that's been said, but and as someone who goes and picks his kids up regularly from school, I can vouch for the external hardening of the facilities against those existential threats. But internally, supporting kiddos inside, having engaged staff that get to know your kids is the best way to keep them engaged. And we focus on gun violence, but we also need to work on suicide prevention because that's a much bigger threat to our kids right now. And it all gets back to those wraparound support services to keep them safe and supported.
Yeah, so the last person to answer this question, everyone has had excellent answers. So as a parent, walking into both my children's school, I have to buzz, I have to check in with the office, so I feel like our school district is already really doing an excellent job. But yes, there's always things that we can do to improve. And also thinking about mental health. So, and trauma-informed education, trauma-informed care, because these active shooters are clearly mentally
And that's
ill.
time.
So,
We'll do one more question from our DCAC members, and then we'll start, do the questions that you as the audience has given Sean. So we'll just go ahead and start back here with you. The question is, Topeka Public Schools has a number of schools with signature themes, including dual language, STEAM, and fine arts. Do you feel these signature theme schools are beneficial to the district students? And are there any changes to the signature theme-based school programs you would propose? So that's a lot, sorry.
There's a lot. That's an interesting question. I'm sure there's been a lot of thought put into that. I know there has. So again, I wouldn't want to presuppose anything. What does the data say? Well, is there a benefit coming from that? I think the idea is a fantastic one, as long as all our students are getting equitable education, the best education they can get, and they're getting a sound fundamental education for life.
As a father whose 3 kids go to Scott Dual Language where they're learning English and Spanish at the same time, I see firsthand the benefits of it. And so if I would make any change, I would say that not to be hesitant to explore more. What would it look like if this continued from grade school all the way up, and put the funding behind it to make that a reality? And what would it look like for other themes and other ways to enhance the education of kids? I think there are only things to be gained from making sure kids are receiving the best education they can.
I don't like the fact that you have to go to a certain building to get a certain education. It seems like we should be able to put many of these things. I know our dual language is difficult because of the instructors that we need for that, but STEAM should be in every building. Art should be in every building. We should figure out a way that every student has that equal opportunity no matter what building they're in.
I guess I follow a line actually very similarly. I'm very much about equal access and equitability. So if a student, it shouldn't matter where they live to be able to get enrichment. It shouldn't matter what your address is to find a passion. And if my student has the wrong address, does that mean that they won't have access to the arts or to dual language? I'm very much about access and allowing people to find their own paths. Young people.
I'm 100% on board. When our daughter was getting ready to start kindergarten, which was 2 years ago, we were looking at different magnet schools and everything, and plus benefits. And at the end of the day, we were good with our neighborhood school because one, look at the results of the buildings, and I think there's a lot of very good special programs offered in those specialty buildings, but I think that there is a way to make those available to all kids.
So I'd like to speak specifically about dual language. So our dual language school, it's a magnet school. So anybody who lives within 501 can attend. So it's not limited to your neighborhood. And I know parents who are choosing to be in public schools because of its dual language program. And my children have benefited tremendously from it. And I wish it could be in other schools, but I can't be the concentrated resources because of the shortage.
Yeah, in the spring, I was out at Williams Magnet School for a school board meeting. And the first thing I kind of realized, well, first I was trying to figure out what STEM and STEAM mean. And, I asked my wife, and she's like, well, one's got art and one doesn't. I was like, what is this, because I had art all growing up, and we need to get that in all the buildings. Like this.
I think that the key to making education come alive is innovation and creativity. And I think the magnet schools did a good job of kind of capturing that spirit and offering something that was different during the time that we really kind of moved to that system as a district. Is that the best we can do in our current times? Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe there's some other creative and innovative ways that we can help our kids explore education, and I think we need to continue to look for those possibilities.
Colin Steele wrote a book about 10 or 15 years ago about whistling Vivaldi, and it's basically about identity threat. Probably the main cause of underachievement among those who are not achieving is identity threat. How does a white teacher tell a black student that they need to learn this? Well, I praise, there's other techniques, but one thing we're destroying is the STEM, and you can teach programs from KU.
Thank you. Okay, well, it's 7:45 we're going to, correct? Okay. It is now 7:20, so we'll go ahead and move on to some questions that the audience has asked. We'll go ahead and start with you, Stu, on this.
Okay, bring it back.
So, the first question from the audience is, what unique strengths will you bring to the board?
I believe that working with the curriculum and understanding, introducing new curriculum is very difficult on our classrooms, the catch-up time, the time of instruction that's missing. I believe I've worked from side by side with people in the service center all the way up to the administration building. I also was one of the founding people who started developing our wonderful curriculum maps. So I think I know what questions to ask when it comes to board business.
Are you ready for me? I hope what I bring, I know what I bring, a lot of creative ideas, a lot of innovation. I have a lot of energy and my desire to serve. Education is my passion. It's what I do all the time, whether it's at work or home. A lot of innovative ideas that I have for how to bring college level classes or AP classes across the schools, not just at the schools that necessarily have the teacher credentials at the moment. And I would love to be able to share those ideas with you. I have a lot of them. I like to throw them against the wall and see which ones will stick next. So a lot of energy and a lot of innovation.
What do I bring to this? I think one of the things that I bring is a unique perspective. In my role at KSTE, I love my job. I have the opportunity to be in classrooms all the time throughout our state and throughout the nation. I have the opportunity to speak to districts, both in our state and out, about how we do a better job of serving all kiddos, how we need to teach using evidence and not instinct, how we need to, and have that perspective of what strategies are effective and how do those work in the real world for our kids. And I'm a parent.
I bring various perspectives. I bring the parent perspective, I bring the teacher perspective. I also used to work at KSTE for 5 years, so I bring that perspective from the state level. I'm bilingual, so I'm accessible to our Spanish-speaking stakeholders. I also am a problem solver. I'm not a complainer. I'm a woman of action, and I want to solve problems. Wow.
I think, this is a good question because, one thing I've done as a union steward, and I keep bringing it up, I'm sorry. But, I show up and I do the work and if I don't know the answer, I'll figure out the answer, right? It's not a matter of fact of knowing everything, because no one's going to know everything. There's a lot of education up here, and I'm probably the lowest guy, but I'll find the answer, and I'll be there and I'll show up.
And keep collecting my stones. So what I bring to the table is over 20 years of public service and community-based leadership. Also, because of my educational and professional background, I bring a expertise of public policy and of experience with budgets that I'm not sure a lot of folks have currently or among the pool of candidates. So that is something unique that I'm going to bring to the table. Also, I am the past chairperson, founding chairperson for the Equity Council, so I bring that perspective and familiarity with the district.
Well, I think I work well with others. I've been president of the County Medical Society. I helped found Health Access, remain on the board. I was on the peer review organization for hospitals and physicians for 21 years. I'm more of an inquirer, and I wonder the basis, the 7 sigma, why? You keep going back and try to find out. One big thing government does, it can define programs, but it has no way to identify its failures or mistakes.
Well, I do think I bring a unique set of skills to this. I'm a problem solver. I spent my adult life solving problems, both in my civilian life and in the military as a nurse, and in the military as a nurse, a trainer, and as a first sergeant. I've solved problems in large, complex organizations and been part of change in organizations in both environments. I tend to think outside of the box when confronted with a problem that doesn't seem to have a solution.
I think I bring the ability to mobilize individuals around difficult challenges. And you do that by getting a group to ask questions that maybe they haven't thought of before, like, who's missing from this conversation? Or what would somebody who disagrees say about this particular topic? It also means trying to work and figure out, be able to connect with individuals who don't normally, like who's missing from this room here today. I think I can connect with groups who aren't as engaged, and there's a reason behind that. Why is that? So getting groups to be productive, raising difficult subjects when necessary is what I bring.
Thank you. Okay, the next question will move down to you, Brent. We'll start with you. How will you help close the achievement gap across ethnic and economic line?
Okay, what was that again? Sorry.
How will you help close the achievement gap across ethnic and economic line?
Well, I believe that, we quality in the classrooms to provide equity to the students and make sure that, everybody's getting what they need in the classrooms, making sure that they are getting to that high school level and, being able to graduate, with,
So we already have a mechanism in place to support equity in the district, and that's through the Equity Council. So that's the mechanism that I think it has done a good job over the course of the past 8 years or so that it's been in existence. And that is a body that comes together to create policy recommendations and suggestions for the school board and passes those recommendations concerning equity, identifies the areas where equity is a problem, where it's a challenge, and brainstorming solutions and recommendations for the school board.
Probably the hardest job one has is raising kids. The second toughest job is being a teacher. Just ask any teacher. But their job is tough enough. I think they should be more of a guide on the side and board at the board, involving with the teacher, creating that love for the student for the subject and having a love for the student, not, well, it's it's a load of everything that's going on in that classroom. And that needs work on.
Go ahead.
I think my biggest responsibility in trying to address that issue is to listen and try to understand to the students, teachers, parents, the administrators, and to work together, all of us, to try to see what else can we do to close those gaps and address those issues.
There are two things that come to mind. First off is having more teachers of color. Who's at the front of the room has an impact on students. And so, this building that we're in has a room for firefighters, law enforcement. Do we have one for teachers? And can we do more to recruit teachers of color? Two is building a trustworthy process with communities who are disproportionately affected in terms of achievement gap, and figuring out a way that we can work better together and engage better together in order to help to make progress on those achievement gaps that we need so much.
I have worked at Avondale East and Ross Elementary, and both of those have been pockets of low scores and achievement gaps. My thought is we really need to be looking at early childhood. We need to be able to have it available for all students that are going to come into our schools, not just the ones that meet the financial line. Childcare is very expensive, and we have a lot of parents that are working several jobs and they don't have enough time to get their students ready for school.
DCAC actually did a study group on this a few years ago, and we found that there were two primary ways that you can close the achievement gap for people of color. And the first one was recruiting and retaining quality teachers. And we do have here at TCALC the Grow Your Own program that is striving to increase diversity as teachers. The second one is decreasing class size in areas where the class sizes are getting a little unruly. So those are the two key issues that they found, that if you want to close the achievement gap, there's where you start.
I think that the focus needs to be not so much addressing symptoms of the problem, but addressing the underlying issues. So that gets to data and hard work. We all have implicit bias. White people have implicit bias for the white people, black people for the black people. The data is very, very strong on this, and it goes back decades. But there is so we can't change people's implicit biases in that, but we can put in systems and collect data on individual kiddos, on what's effective for an individual kiddo, and adjust our services for that child to be more effective. It's about taking out personalities and judgments and using science and evidence.
Okay, yes, this one works. All right, so my answer is similar to what some of the other candidates have said, and I think this is something that I've thought a lot about over the years, is the disproportionality between our students and our staff. So, because if you look at the demographics in our district, we have, it's about what, one third, I'm not exactly sure, but most of our teachers are white. So we need to have more teachers of color, and we also need more teachers who can teach and instruct Spanish.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and do one more question, and then we'll allow you guys each have 1 minute to wrap up. Okay? So we'll go ahead and start back here at the beginning. The question is, what is your vision for pre-K programs in the district? You. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Well, my vision is that every child has it, and that it's as high quality as everything else should be, and that we fully support parents in what they may need for their children to access that. I can't make any plainer than that.
I think we all know that what happens for a child between 0 to 5 impacts them later on and exponentially. And so I think it starts with connecting with families. I thought as a young parent that I knew what needed to be done, and I learned that there's so much that comes from simple things like a dad playing with his kids or reading a book, things I didn't know about. I think there's a gap between some families and what studies show. And so getting the dialogue together and then figuring out how do we connect these individuals and meet them where they are.
That's time.
Not only do I believe in preschool for all students, but I also believe in a program that needs to be implemented to help parents be better parents. I know the city has one. Teachers, I can't remember the name of
Teachers.
Thank you all for kicking in. And I believe we need to have more education for our parents. Many of them are so busy and have not had the experience that they needed to bring their child forward in education, and so we need to really concentrate there.
I think we're going to hear a running theme. Preschool is really important, and it's not just about developing a child. The child lives in a system, and that system has to be aided as well. So it's about educating the parents, making sure that parents don't fear coming to school, that they don't fear talking to other individuals, and that they know that they're supported within the system. And so I think what other folks were saying as well, it's not just about the child. The child certainly is important. You need to focus, but it's focusing on the family and making sure that it is educating everyone.
Again, kind of agreeing with everyone else, but specifically, I want to see I want to see a free, universal, and inclusive preschool system for 3 and 4-year-olds in Topeka. Right now, there's great work trying to blend and braid and pull together funding from different sources, but that has resulted in a situation where we have one of the most, we and every other district in the nation have very, very segregated early childhood systems, segregated in terms of students with disabilities, English learners, migrant students, et cetera. Inclusion needs to start at early childhood.
Yes, okay, so everyone concurs, early childhood is extremely important. Also, I want to go back to the linguistically diverse teachers. It's so important, because this is something I see in my job in the migrant education program, is like Head Start, early Head Start, but there aren't, I'm not talking about Topeka public schools, okay, but there aren't enough educators who can speak to the parents in a language they can understand. So that's something that we really have a problem we need to solve.
Hey, my daughter is 3 years old, and it's going to be a problem when preschool comes around because of the cost of preschool. I have a good job, but I don't have a great job. So it's definitely, we need to control some of those costs to have some equality along the line. They need that social and emotional development that happens with peers. They need preschool.
As a former member of the Shelton Head Start Policy Council, I know firsthand how important it is for children to get off to a great start before they even enter into kindergarten that very first day. It's not like when we were all kids and you just showed up for kindergarten and then you started learning. Now, if you don't have skills already, as part of your repertoire as a 5-year-old, when you walk into the door, you're going to be behind your peers. So as much as we can do, Head Start is one model, there are others, but as much as we can do to explore our options on this kind of work for our children, our community will be better off.
Our natural resource needs all the help it can get, and sometimes they just don't have parents. If they have one parent, that individual's probably working 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. There are at least 200 homeless children in this community. There are hundreds of CASA students and foster children. We need more parents. Redo. Otherwise, we just need all the help we can get.
Thank you. To go ahead and finish up, we'll give you each a minute to kind of wrap up your thoughts and kind of let the audience know a little bit more about you before we end the evening. We'll just go ahead and go right down the line, like how we started in the beginning.
60 seconds.
Correct. 1 minute.
Okay. Thank you everyone for coming out and listening to us tonight. I am so thrilled to see your wide eyes in anticipation of what we might say. Again, my name is T.J. Brown. I would be the District 1 seat, but we're all at-large candidates. I wanted to touch on a couple of things really quickly. I respectfully disagree with the gentleman who said we can't affect biases. I can't think of a more pertinent time in our history when we most need to affect biases and prejudices. And I think this is a perfect environment. These are educators and loving parents and concerned community members. We start with ourselves and we work out from there. I am the child of divorced parents, an absentee father, a mother with mental illness. I have been in foster care. I was temporarily homeless as a child. I was an emancipated minor at 16 and still managed to finish high school. Perspective is important. I think I have that, and I have the experience. Thank you.
As a young person, I used to believe that as the years were passing by and I'd see some of my friends drop out of school or get into trouble with the law or whatnot, that there was nothing that I could do. I don't believe that anymore. I think that every one of us has something to offer, some large and some small, and that all of that is important. And so I'm wanting to run for school board because I feel like I bring a lot of values as a parent and my perspective that's important as we're making decisions that were and policies and procedures that are affect kids for a long time. I'm running because I feel like you have to fight hard and that it's never assumed that full funding is always going to be there. We have to be strong advocates for public education. And lastly, funding because it's so important to be able to reduce the gap in terms of that are affecting students in terms of achievement. That's the critical thing I think we have to make progress on if we're going to turn things around and that Topeka is going to head towards a brighter future.
I just have a passion to be on the school board. I'll be coming out of a really good gig of retirement, and I really felt like when I retired I wasn't done giving back yet to our students. I think of them as my own children, and I worked in buildings where I see the difficulty in the education for those children, and we need to pull in more community organizations to help us with our students, help us build our schools that are more community-based and enriched for our students. Our students are coming to us with so many problems, and we need to figure out how to bring this whole community around and envelop these students and help them get a better life through education. I just really would like to be on the school board. So I have that passion. I hope you'll see that I have the experience and the ability to know what we need to do and move forward.
I work with students every day. I advise them, I see them in the classroom, I see their struggles, I see what happens when they leave a school district and enter post-secondary education. I'm really fortunate. I get to surround myself in education all the time. You know, at home, obviously my job. So education is what I do. Education is my energy. And you see, you took the words right out of my mouth when it is my passion. So that's how I really want you to remember me, is through that word. So the preschool, we need to expand it. The arts, we need to protect them. We need to be supporting our students all year round, not just in the 9 months they're sitting in the classrooms. We need to be supporting our staff and our teachers. Innovation, opportunities, and networks. You know, so I live by a quotation that talks a lot about how we should not refuse the some things that we can do. And I guess that's where I want to leave you this evening is this is something I can do. It's something I want to do, but I cannot do it alone, and I need your support November 5th.
That's kind of just what I was going to say. First of all, I have to say that, you know, I got into this. I was the first one in my district to file, I did it because I felt very, very strongly about where we were as district as where our schools were. I do say that the two arguments, you can't go wrong with this group. I'm really, really happy with what I see out here and what I'm hearing today. But we have to recognize everyone in our schools, in our administrations, our parents, everyone wants our kids to succeed, and they're putting a tremendous amount of energy into making that happen. But is energy being well spent in a well-executed manner that's helping every kid? And it's not. And we have to be honest with ourselves about that. We have to be honest with ourselves that we're not doing a fantastic job of reaching out to all parents on their terms in a way that they can be reached. We have to be honest with ourselves that we are not, we're letting our, well, thank you.
I'm sorry.
I am impressed with tonight, with DCAC putting this together, with the turnout, with the candidates, all in the name of students for life success. And I just want y'all to know that I feel what an honor to serve on this school board, and especially the Brownie Board School Board. I mean, it would just be an incredible honor. And I want you to remember me and to know me as very dedicated, qualified, and passionate, and kind. I love kids. And teachers, feel like we should salute teachers and thank them. And parents, classified staff too. Can't leave out classified staff. We can do, teachers can do it without our classified staff, our custodians, our secretaries. They all do such important work. And I promise to serve to my highest ability and to foster and maintain
And that's time.
productive relationships.
Yeah, when corporations choose a region to go to, they look at the education. That's what first drove me. Secondly, my daughter, I have one as a senior in high school going to Washington for BSN. I got one just starting out, so that's a major gap. But I definitely, I have a passion to help out and remove obstacles for students, for parents, for teachers, for staff. You know, I might not be real well spoken, but my heart's probably the biggest one that's up here. You know, I definitely, I was the first one to file. I made 501 actually turn in their positions to get filed, because I filed before they turned them out. So that was back in January. But, you know, with that, I thank you guys for having me up here.
Thank you.
In addition to being a 501 graduate, I also have children who are currently in the district. I have two at Topeka High, one at Robinson Middle School, and one at Meadows Elementary. And I know that at one point, at some point soon, we won't be here anymore, and God willing, they will be. So the future of our community is too important. The future of our children is too important to leave it to chance. We need qualified people, effective people who can get on the board and make tough decisions and lead the community forward in a positive direction. And I believe I'm one of those candidates, and I thank you for allowing me to be here this evening and ask for your vote on November 5th.
Yeah, ditto. Again, our children are our most important natural resource. And I'm running because of two people. One, Patrick Woods wrote an editorial last May, I believe, and that inspired me to answer life's most urgent and pressing question: what are you doing for others? And the other, my wife's daughter was a KIT teacher in Denver. She had underprivileged students that are at least 4 grades behind their peers. In 1 year, she got them up to their peers. There are techniques that can be used. And let's not have identity threat pose this problem.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank all the candidates for being able to come out this evening and be able to answer some questions, especially ones that